Personal data. Date of birth May 7, 1892. Date of death April 20, 1982. Boston, Massachusetts, United States. Country of origin Glencoe, Illinois, United States. Educated at the Hotchkiss schools, his family were brash people, sailors in Norwich. My father, third wife, was intelligent, respectful, and virtuous. Macleish later studied at Yale and Harvard Law School, where he was first in his class. Also, I have focused his studies of law. I have also started writing poetry during this time. In 1916, I have married with Ada Hitchcock. Work did the author to American poet, playwright, teacher, and public official whose concern for liberal democracy figured. In most of his works, also his most memorable lyrics are of more private nature.
Published a long epic poem, Conquistador, which received the 1932 Pulitzer Prize of Poetry. The recognition derived from the Pulitzer Prize allowed Macleish to become one of the most influential opinion makers in American society in the 1930s.
What were the author's most important achievements? He also enhanced the literary reputation as a major cultural institution, not only because of his own promise as a poet, but also by inaugurating a series of public poetry readings.
List of authors' works. The title and the year. Ars Poetica, 1928. Memory Green, 1930. Panic, 1935. J.B., 1958. Birth of Eventually Venus, 1980. The poem, Ars Poetica. A poem should be palpable and mute, as a globe fruit dumb, as old medallions to the thumb, silent as the sleep-worn stone of casement ledge where the moss has grown. A poem should be wordless as the flight of birds. A poem should be motionless in time as the moon climbs, living as the moon releases, twig by twig, the night entangled trees, living as the moon behind the winter leaves, memory by memory, the main. A poem should be motionless in time as the moon climbs. A poem should be equal to not true. For all the history of grief, an empty doorway and a maple leaf. For love, the learning grasses and two lights above the sea. A poem should not mean, but be.
Okay, we talk about Archibald Macleish poem Ars Poetica. It is a poem that talks about comparisons in life with those of poem with the art of poetry. The quote that gives life to his poem is that of "As a globe fruit has old medallions to the thumb, silent as the sleep-worn stone." At the time of Macleish speaking and giving his comparisons, it can be seen that he teaches and transmits to us through the poem that everything that exists is a poem. The poem opens with the speaker comparing a poem to a globe's fruit that's mute and silent. He then goes on to stress the idea of the poem being wordless as a flight of birds. It should also be motionless in time, leaving all memories of the mind behind. A poem should also avoid so-called truths. It should be without the stories and grief of mankind, but also, in addition, it should be for love and true lights above the sea. Above all, a poem should not mean but be. The first four stanzas have two main ideas. The first is the speaker's assertion that a poem should be palpable or should be felt in a concrete way. One could also argue that as a modernist, Macleish believes the poem should literally become an object. The next stanza is composed with an extended simile. He expressed the paradox of what a good poem does. That Macleish hopes the poem will prove both conscious impressions that are unconscious impressions In the final stanza, Macleish raises another set of poetics, one being that he feels a poem should be equal to something, rather than true about a thing. It likely means that a poem should not be operating in any deals with right or wrong, truth or lies. In conclusion, what Macleish gives us to think with this poem is that all things resolve around a poem. That poem has to stop meaning. The poem has to be because it is something so profound that it's not enough just to know its meaning, that the poem will become part of the person who is reading it. That is what Ars Poetica leaves us. That is what Archibald Macleish leaves us.
What do you think of the author's contribution? Is it important or not? Explain. Macleish worked his whole life to promote art, culture, and libraries. Macleish was the first librarian of Congress. He was a man that gave his contribution to society through his passion for poetry. He definitely was an important man to the world of literature. Macleish supported the world of art.